Dare great things for Christ. Christ calls us to dare great things. In the marketplace, as well as in the mission field, there has never been a time like the present for the spirit of the Catholic entrepreneur. Now is the time for men and women of great courage and great vision to engage our church and our culture. Now is the time to dare great things. And here is your host as we dare great things, Father Nathan Cromley, the president and founder of the St. John Institute.
The Catholic Church has always taught that work was genuinely a human activity, meaning that it was something that we did that made our lives better. But with the increase of technology, social media, and the changing demographics of the workforce, work itself seems to be a different kind of experience. Nevertheless, the truth about work hasn't changed, and God's vision for work laid out in the Bible remains the same. This is a Christian advantage. By letting the truth of our faith inform our leadership, Christians protect and enhance the working environment for all involved. Hey everybody, today I want to talk about something that's a little bit on the more delicate side of the fence, right? Because there's a lot of history behind this, and it's the dignity of work. And the reason I mean that it's delicate is that historically there have been revolutions fought about work and about workers and workers' rights, of course, and the delicate question of unionization and solidarity is all there. So there's a lot of political background around the concepts that I want to discuss with you today. But I'd like to do it in a way that's kind of independent of that political background, because the political manifestations of the rights of workers is a question all in itself. I want to take a look at it from a different point of view, something much more practical, which is a question of what advantage do we have as a Christian, as a manager or a business leader who espouses Christian values in their business. And I want to say one of the best things that result from this decision to be a Christian in your leadership is that your vision for what's happening in the workplace remains one that benefits your workers. Meaning we enhance the dignity of workers by allowing them to work in a way that's genuinely human. So it's a little bit of an abstract concept to begin with, but it ends with really profound practical consequences for us. So bear with me as I go just a little bit theoretical with you first. And that's to explain what John Paul II did in Laborem Exercens, which is a letter that he wrote on the dignity of human work, in which he says that man does not live to work, man works to live. Okay, which means that the work of the hands, the productive activity of a human person, be it at the office desk, or be it digging a ditch, or be it building a building, or be it teaching, or be it helping children to learn how to eat and to smile and to play, all those things that we do that result in something else, that produce something else. All these things are something that we do for the sake of our humanity, which means that it ought to enhance something that's deeper than itself. Work is not the end goal of our existence, but work is necessary for our existence. The end goal of our existence, of course, is our ability to give ourselves in a spiritual way, in a communion of love with someone greater than us. Okay, so that really is the point for everything that we do. But you can't do this without work and without productivity. As one person famously put it, you can't eat love, right? And not only can't you eat love, but I don't think you can really love and love well without honing your ability to produce, to be efficient, to prioritize, to make choices. And this is why I say over and over again that your workplace is a practice for your home life. Okay, so what we do at work ought to make us better parents. And this is a great advantage that we have as leaders, teaching you here, that if you've got a workplace environment, any kind of power, authority in the workplace, remember that the people that you're leading are somebody's dads, somebody's grandparents, somebody's mother, sister, right? And that the experience they're having there at work ought to make them a better person. So if the way that I treat them denigrates them, puts them down, doesn't enhance them, doesn't develop them, well, I'm doing them a disservice by allowing them to work in that way. And their time spent in the workplace will actually denigrate the family. instead of helping it. This is an interesting perspective to take about all of you who own your own businesses. What you have is an immense power to purify our society. You can help our culture by lifting it up. How? By inculcating a workplace environment that allows people to work with dignity, who respect the workplace because the workplace respects them. Right? And how does that happen? If that happens, a person who goes to work, this might be the place where they're the safest, where they're treated with the most dignity. Well, imagine if at work they were able to speak with the most intelligence and show their gifts more than any other place in their lives. For many people, that's the case. And so if we can do that and do that consistently and do that well, and then show them the value of that, we can do a lot for healing our society. And this is the power and beauty of the wholly owned enterprise of free property. When you have your own business, if you're an entrepreneur or you run a family business, imagine the power that you have to be able to cleanse our society by setting a set of parameters that guarantee that your workers, when they're there, become better people, are treated with a deeper level of dignity. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen many times. And many of the businesses that partner with the St. John Institute, when we go into these companies, I'm so edified to see the owners telling me, we want our people to know they're appreciated. We want our people to feel valued. We want our people to know that they're loved and that they're safe here. I mean, literally, those are words that the owners of the businesses are speaking. It almost makes you realize, gosh, when we go to a big public company, if we lose that angle because of private equity or because of whatever it could be, we've really lost something. Because suddenly, if the business is only about the bottom line in the end will ultimately suffer. Because the bottom line is generated by people. And study after study after study has shown that people respond better and give better work to companies that recognize their true humanity. Companies that work with them in authentic teamwork, collaboration, dedication. If the bottom line is driving you as a business person, I'm going to say that yes, you might have everything that's necessary for today's corporate structure, but you're missing something essential. And I think it's the role of Christian-owned businesses to remind publicly traded companies that the real way forward is a way that not only defends the importance of profit, but defends the importance of the workers who generate that profit and puts the right order between the two. Of course, profit's necessary. Of course, the bottom line is essential. It's just understanding that the bottom line it represents the work of people. And that work of people can't be reduced to mere processes and SOPs. It's the result of heart, of motivation, of thought, of intelligence. And when people can work together in that kind of synergy, you get an even more productive company. And so the Christian has an advantage because we lead from the get-go with that perspective. We start by saying that the people that I'm in charge of are people. And we do more than what most of our secular counterparts can do. And I have a lot of respect for everybody. I'm not putting anyone down. But I'm saying that if you were to put on a scale the secular vision of what a person is compared to the religious vision of what a person is, a Christian vision of what a person is, there's almost no comparison. I mean, a secular vision of a person will be disparate, right? You'll have all kinds of different opinions about what a person is, but most of them will be reductive, saying that a person is the sum of the molecular biology that constitutes them, and that is an expression of the physical universe. That sounds like big words, but in the end, if all I am is an expression of the physical universe, then my life can be reduced to the ends of the physical universe. That means that I'm there to serve the world of which I am just an expression and a part. Well, that's interesting, but let's compare that with a Christian worldview. In a Christian worldview, the people are not just an expression of the physical universe, they're the expression of the heart of God. Literally, the people that I work with on a daily basis are human beings made and willed by God, made in His image and likeness, with an eternal soul and eternal destiny, who can generate the very civilization upon which they depend. Right? That's an amazing thought. Therefore, what does the Christian vision of work have the worker respond to? Not the physical world, but the spiritual demands of the human person. Goodness, truth, things, eternal destinies. The genuine advancement of society is not purely economic, in other words. It has to have something greater than economics, because there's something greater in the human person than what is material. And that something greater, we can define it. Our capacity to know, love, serve God, and our capacity to enter into profound friendships with one another. And the Christian leader highlights that, puts that first, says that, okay, if that's the case, then you need to be able to bring that into the workplace. And what's going to happen? Better work. Amongst many other things, right? There's many other wonderful things that are going to happen, but one of the number one upshots from all this is going to be my people are going to be more dedicated, more innovative, more collaborative, more responsive. I mean, they can go through the whole list of it, because they're bringing something more to work than their bodies and their productive energies. They're bringing their minds, their hearts, and their souls. And I'll be smart if, as a leader, I tap into that. That's exactly what Christian leadership does.
Would you like to hear more from Father Nathan? Join the St. John Leadership Network and receive a 2-minute glance at the gospel every Sunday morning right to your phone. To learn more, go to www.stjohnleadershipnetwork.org/member and join for free today.
So when we look at this question closely, what's the advantage of leading my company or leading my management group or going into my workplace every single day from a Christian perspective and with Christian values? What's the advantage to that? Well, one advantage amongst many is that I am able to pinpoint and bring out the greatness of the people that are around me. And be that in my customer, be that in my suppliers, be that in my colleagues, be those in my boss above me or the people who are below me. If I treat them like people and understand the different dynamics of the human individual who's in front of me, I'm able to gain a momentum that's deeper and more profound. Think, for example, of some of the needs of industry, where you might need to ask people to work late. You might need to ask people to help you move from one warehouse to another. You might have to ask your people to shift roles as you go through a pandemic, or you go through a closure, or you go through a scaling down. What's going to guarantee that your people actually do that? I mean, how do you gain the energy for your people to go the extra mile? I mean, go to just the training you can do for your people at the front desk, for example. You go into a dentist office, and you go to this dentist office, and the people at the front desk act like they're busy. They act like they don't really want to see you. They're talking to their companions that are sitting next to each other. They're typing or something. And you're standing there awkwardly wondering what you're supposed to do until one of them comes over. They give you some form. They don't make eye contact, and you go through this again and again. The difference between that and a dentist office where the person at the front desk willingly goes the extra mile to welcome you, like giving you a smile, asking you how you're doing, And it's kind of funny because you always reply at the dentist like, I wish I wasn't here. We got to stop meeting like this. But at the same time, what a wonderful difference. How do you get that? All right? How do you get a person to bring the best of whom they are to work? And it's by knowing and espousing yourself the best of who people are. There's a lot of managers today, for example, who will let other kind of like social laws coming out of constructs of theories and places far, far away influence the way that they interact with their teams. But you don't have to interact that way. Why would I have to follow the rule book set by a different cultural perspective when I could follow the rule book set by God? And what's the rule book set by God? Treat each person as if they're absolutely dignified. Give everyone a seat at the table. Help everyone to advance. Listen to all voices. Take your time to be respectful as if you didn't know everything and the people in front of you actually did. Encourage conflict in a healthy way. Encourage diversions of opinions. These are all things that flow right out of a Christian understanding that what we're engaging in when we engage in the work field is something profoundly human and therefore profoundly creative. When John Paul II goes, for example, in his letters on work, and he analyzes what work is, he says, it's an amazing thing. Work is the expression of the human soul. Meaning on the outside, what we're doing is an expression of something that we've grasped with our mind and something that we've chosen with our hearts. And that grasping of the mind, choosing with the hearts, means we dedicate ourselves with our hearts to something that we really think is a better product for the help of the world. And the way that we do it, the way that we produce it, the more that my people can be involved in that, and the more they can understand that, the more they can give themselves to it. And that's where we're suddenly going to get the extra mile that makes the difference between a company that thrives and a company that doesn't. So it's kind of simple. If my work is always going to be done by human workers, the philosophy system, the worldview that allows me to tap in to the human worker the best and allow them facilitate the best of their work is going to produce, the greatest results. And where can I go to find such a worldview, right? Like I could take my playbook from materialistic reductions of the human person. I could say that my people are robots. I could say that my people are social experiments. I could put everyone in different sociological classes and boxes and then define the ways that I'm supposed to interact with them according to those classes or boxes. But I don't have to. I could do a different approach. I could instead say this human being is motivated by the understanding of truth and is capable of greatness, great innovation, great dedication, if in fact they can give themselves spiritually through what they do physically. And there you've got a real challenge and an opportunity for yourself as a manager. Am I creating a workspace environment that enables the spiritual to be accessed? So of course, like there I'm speaking philosophically, it's a fancy term, this understanding of the spirituality. But what I mean by that is the pursuit of the meaning of the person's life who's working there. Can they pursue the meaning of their life when they're there? Can they make authentic relationships with their coworkers where they can laugh, smile, be together? Do they feel affirmed? Do they feel connected to each other? Do they feel as if their product has value? Am I allowing them to see what's on the end of the line of the machinery, or it's at the end of the line of swinging the hammer? Do they get to see and take pride, human pride, in the overarching perspective of what's happening when they're doing customer service? You go back to that front desk worker at the dentist office. How do I get them to interact in a human way? Well, that's a real puzzle. But I'll tell you how you can begin to solve that puzzle. It's by asking yourself, does the person there see that by their interaction, they're making an impact in the lives of the people that they're associating with? Or have I so removed them from the human interaction and the human value of what they're giving, the relationship functionality, in order to get a greater efficiency out of their movements, that in the end, I've made them into a robot. I've reduced the work experience to a machinery. And while there's a value in efficiency, there's going to be a greater efficiency achieved when my people are able to see the significance of what they do. And this takes effort, this takes time, but it takes a lot more effort, and it'll burn a lot more time to not do it.
Would you like to start your Thursday mornings with a scriptural leadership lesson? Join the St. John Leadership Network, where Father Nathan hosts a 30-minute call at 6:30 a.m. in all 4 U.S. time zones. To learn more, go to www.stjohnleadershipnetwork.org/member and join for free today.
If we go back to the 6 principles of the Catholic business leadership defined by the Vatican, we find a real resource here. This comes from a document that the Vatican put out in 2011, then again 2012, then again 2014, and they continue to edit it. It's a document that lists the vocation of the Catholic business leader. Okay, now what's important about this is in the center of the document, they give these practical steps, practical tips for what it takes to be a Catholic business leader, in truth. And they reduce those 6 into 3 groups. They say you need to produce good goods. You need to do it with good work, and you need to generate good wealth. Okay, good goods, good work, good wealth. It's easy to remember. Now, these 6 principles are really handy because if we follow them, what we'll find consistently is that the vision that we have of work has to flow from the vision that we have of the worker. And I want to say this is so important because in the Bible, God lays out a real vision for work. And his vision for work is glorious. He says in a sense that work, even physical manual work, is a part of what gives us our dignity and is an expression of our freedom. And the Catholic Church will follow in her whole tradition, defending the right to private property, for example. Why? Because what private property represents is the fruit of your work. When you transform the world, the effects of that transformation, to a certain degree, belong to you. You have the right for the product that you have labored for, because that product is less than you. If you take away private property, what you're really also taking away is the dignity of the worker. Because in the end, if I can't own what I'm doing, then what I'm doing is bigger than me. What I'm producing has a greater importance than the one who produces it. Well, you see, there's a flip side to that, because most of the time we say, oh gosh, we don't want private property, because then you've got people that think that they own the world or all this. And actually it's a sign of respect. It's to say that the work that I do flows from me and is capable of serving my needs. Okay, so me owning it doesn't mean that I can dominate it, doesn't mean I can lord it. I have to then share it, of course, and make sure that it benefits other people. But fundamentally, work comes from me. The product that I do comes from me. And that's because the Catholic Church is reinforcing what the Bible says. And that is that man is the glory of God. And man, fully alive, works with his hands or her hands to transform this world by their intelligence and their dedication. And by so doing, they make the world itself more human. So the key to good goods and to good wealth is good work. The way those principles interface with each other. I'm going to produce great products, and I'm going to have a wealth that's well distributed, that's shared well, that's invested correctly back into my company. I've got a good sense of stewardship when I have the understanding that work makes me a better person. And that by working, I gain talent, I gain skill, I gain virtue as a person. I can authentically give myself and find purpose in life through my work. It's not going to be my ultimate purpose, but it's going to be a first taste of purpose. When you look at the way young people live today, and I haven't done the research on this, and it's so hard to do research anyway because data is so slanted in different ways. But I've heard so many different times, anecdotally, about the statistics on the rise of mental health issues with our teenagers. And you know, some people trace that back to the cell phone and to social media. And there seems to be a convincing argument that to the degree that we let our teenagers interact without limit or without guidance into social media, we increase their risk for need for counseling, for image issues, for all kinds of different things that happen. And I think it begs the question. Well, it's funny because when you're doing social media or you give a person a phone, you unleash the power for human relationships unbridled from a sense of the urgency and the discipline and the sacrifice and the values that come from work. And I kind of wonder if we got it backwards. I mean, historically, traditionally, the human person needed to work before they would invest themselves in human relationships to an intense degree, right? Because you had to survive. So you're out there milking the cows and you're butchering the pigs and you're bringing in the sheaves, whatever else you had to do, because you had to learn how to cook at an early age, and you had to learn your farming from an early age. If you go to Amish communities, you'll see the children right at their fathers' and mothers' sides, working every single day. And that creates an understanding of certain parameters that then help, or ought to help, can often help, to keep a person on the rails when it comes to their emotions and their understanding of their interaction with other people. I'm not saying that's a cure-all for everything, but it's something I just want to point out. Like, if we're educating our children correctly, we should include a real education about work. And I think if we don't, it's usually a sign that we don't understand ourselves the real value that work can have. But I'm saying that the Christian perspective is one that understands work as a great educational tool given by God, by which we can discover our greatness. I can discover what it means to give myself to something when I have to forge through the difficulties of toil. When you've got to work for it and you've got to earn it by the sweat of your brow, it's amazing how much more value it seems to have in your eyes. And if I can learn from that about the value of things and the value of time, well, it's a lot easier for me to understand the immense value of the human person and of myself. And I think anecdotally, if you look around yourself, you can ask, isn't it true? Don't you see, when you see a young person who started their own business, you're going to also tend to see young people who are more confident, who have a deeper understanding about what life is all about and what they're all about. It tends to be that way. And so we can ask the question, what is it that makes work spiritual? Number one, because by it, a person relates themselves towards God. Now you could say, well, that's a bit of a stretch. And it kind of is a stretch, but not really, right? Because if I take myself as a manager and I employ Christian values, I'm actually teaching people that what we're doing here at the workplace has a value. We're perfecting the world around us. The world comes in one way and we transform it and we make it into something else. From a dirty office to a clean office. From a not knowing of facts to knowing of facts. From wood into a wonderful wooden bed that you sell online, right? You take the natural world and you perfect it by your work. When you're doing this, what are you doing? You're bringing it closer to God. Second, it's a service to the human family. I'm making things that help other people. As a manager, I can tap into that. I can start to show the impact in our customers' lives by what they do every day and from what they do every day. And then third, the process of work ought to make me a better person. And this is something I can, again, bring out in my people about how I can help them to overcome whatever inner stuff that they're working through that's getting in their way from being a better worker. And by so doing, we can purify our culture by purifying ourselves. The Christian vision from work is advantageous because it keeps work human, it makes work human, and work that's done from humans and in a human way will be work that's more profitable, more meaningful, and in the end, sanctifying for all involved, including you.
Dare great things for Christ.
Share your feedback with Father Nathan. Send us an email at communications@stjohninstitute.org. That's communications@stjohninstitute.org. And visit www.stjohninstitute.org and sign up for our newsletter to receive updates from Father Nathan.